Wolverine and Power Pack? Really? Who asked for this? Now, speaking of things that nobody asked for, this is Brave Sir Robin coming to you from Parts Unknown with another DVD review. My second ever DVD review, I reviewed Pro Wrestling Guerrilla's Kurt WrestleMania, and as I mentioned then, this was night 2 of a weekend presented by Wrestle Reunion, and night 1 was hosted by Ring of Honor, who did their own show that is called Ring of Honor SoCal Showdown. That's the show I'm going to talk about today, see how it measures up, and see if it's a worthwhile accompaniment to Kurt WrestleMania. So let's take a look and talk about it. So the first match that they give to us is tag team action, where you have the team of Colt Cabana and El Generico versus the team of Scott Lost and Scorpio Sky. As far as I know, this is Lost and Sky making their Ring of Honor debuts, and knowing that, I have to ask, what took so long? Both guys are very talented, and it just seems like Ring of Honor has something against the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla guys for some reason, and never brought them in. It's a good opener. It was just too bad on commentary. They spend more time talking about the angle where Kevin Steen has turned on El Generico and going on from there. So it pretty much tells you like which team is going to win because they're part of a storyline. It's good. It's a real shame because I consider both Scott Lost and Scorpio Sky very talented and really fun to watch. But they end up losing, of course, when Colt Cabana hits the Colt 45 on Scorpio Sky. Pretty much just angle advancement with not much else to it, which is, like I said, it's a real shame. I would have liked to have seen more, but that was it. That's all you can do. So now with the previous match being 4 guys who I am a fan of, now we go to Eric Stevens versus the Necro Butcher. Yeah, that's an anything goes match, which is pretty much the only type of match that Necro Butcher is good at, and Eric Stevens, well, he was never really good at anything, was he? And to make matters even worse, Stevens doesn't even have Prince Nana out with him, even though he is part of the embassy. For some reason, Prince Nana never made the trip to California tonight. Makes me really long for the days at the embassy being Jimmy Rave and Alex Shelley, and even Abyss. That was a good pairing there, or good 4 people. But still, the match was what it was. If Prince Nana was out there, it would have been more entertaining, that's for sure. So naturally, we got a brawl throughout the arena. I mean, if you see one Necro Butcher brawl in Ring of Honor, you've pretty much seen them all. I would have liked if they shortened this and gave more time to the previous tag match, because this match actually feels like it goes on really long, and it's suffered from its slow pace. The match ends when Joey Ryan, he attempts to interfere, because he's part of the embassy too, and hits Stevens with a stop sign. Necro then uses an O'Connor roll to get the pin, but then after the match the two beat down Necro. Nobody makes a save or anything. Again, just what it was. It's just there, and you forget about it 5 minutes after. So now we have Roderick Strong versus Delirious, 2 guys who I am a big fan of and I really enjoy watching. This match itself is part of the Pick 6 series, part of the ranking system that they had going on. To be perfectly honest though, I'm not a fan of ranking systems in wrestling. I just don't feel like they work. I feel it puts too many limits on things. Now these 2 guys, they wrestled each other many times before. They have a great match. Roderick has his technical skills and his backbreakers, and Delirious, he's a bit unusual, but he entertains the crowd and he's really fun to watch as well. But Roderick, he's being set up as a world title contender soon, so he ends up getting the pin with a Tiger Driver, which he has renamed the Gibson Driver. Not really much to say about the match. It's pretty good, but just what it was. I mean, Roderick goes on and then wins, and that's it. And not much else to really say about it, really, to be honest. So now we have Tyler Black versus Joey Ryan. Joey Ryan is new to Ring of Honor at the time, and again, I have to ask, what took so long for Ring of Honor to bring in Joey Ryan? I think he's a great asset to any Fed, in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla or NWA Hollywood or anywhere else that he's wrestling to. Now Tyler Black, now of course, he was somebody who had a lot of potential at the time and was being built up as a major world champion, but soon after he did eventually win it, he actually was signed by WWE not long after and never really got to live up to that, in my opinion. He now wrestles in WWE Developmental, Purgatory pretty much, as Seth Rollins. Pretty much up there with Braden Walker when it comes to name changes, in my opinion. So Tyler Black at the time, he is set up as the #1 contender to the ROH title, so you know he's not really losing to Joey Ryan here, so the match just comes across like as filler because of that. It's just a transitional thing, really, pretty much. He ends up winning the match with a move called God's Last Gift, the small package driver. It's not a bad match by any means, like I said, but it's obviously just a stop in between before Tyler gets his title shot. Now we have Kenny King versus Jerry Lynn. And as I mentioned before, this show was a part of the Wrestle Reunion weekend, as same show as Pro Wrestling Guerrilla's Kurt WrestleMania, which was headlined by a match featuring Rob Van Dam. So that means they had Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn as part of the same event booked by Wrestle Reunion and High Spots. Why couldn't they give us that match instead? They could have beaten TNA to the punch by like a year and a half, and I'm sure it would have sold some extra DVDs for either Pro Wrestling Guerrilla or Ring of Honor for that matter. I just feel like a major opportunity has been missed here. So the match itself, I mean, it's fine. I'm not going to hate on the match. But I feel, I mean, the storyline here is that Jerry Lynn is returning from an injury to face Kenny King. I guess they wanted to advance that more than anything. But they could have gave us RVD versus Lynn and had King versus Lynn at another event. It wouldn't really mattered. King gets on the mic, but the audio is really horrible. He's drowned out by the crowd. I really hate when that happens in indie shows. That's where it seems to happen a lot, where the sound is really bad. Still, it's a good match between the veteran and the young up-and-comer. Kenny King is somebody who has a lot of promise. He hits Lynn with his own cradle pile driver, but Lynn gets his foot on the ropes. And King walks around, he's all cocky and posing and thinks he's got it won. But then when he tries to pick Lynn up, he ends up getting rolled up and Lynn gets the quick pin. So King then beats down Lynn after the match, though. He brings in a chair, but Lynn does a Van Daminator, kicking the chair into King's face. Sure, remind us what it could have been, of course. Jerry Lynn then pile drives King onto the chair, which actually leads to a reverse decision. Pretty much the only match of this card where they actually do some good storyline and actually do some advancement for some major angles, so I can't really complain about that. It was a good storyline. Not a lot of twists and turns, and a pretty decent match. Just think about if you put it out of your head thinking about RVD versus Lynn, I mean, that's no big deal, but I don't know, maybe that's just me being too analytical about it. It's still a fine match, so I can't say much. So now we have Human Tornado versus Kevin Steen, Mr. Wrestling. Before the match, the show is a pre-recorded promo of Kevin Steen talking from what looks like some hick bar. I can tell this because they have Smoke on the Water playing very loudly in the background for some reason. Just thought I'd bring that up, it amused me. So the match itself, it's a simple setup. Steen turned on El Generico previously, and Human Tornado is buddies with El Generico and one half of their PWG tag team, which is known as Two Skinny Black Guys, so now we have a match. What more do you really need, honestly? They don't need to overcomplicate things. Though it's basically just a filler match. Seeing Colt Cabana is just doing the exact same thing as part of the same feud. Tornado starts off strong, with Steen would end up catching him and starts to punish him. Steen is an excellent talent. It's too bad most of the major leagues don't seem to see that for some reason. Probably never look past his stocky body and give him a chance, which is sad. It's a pretty good match, though, with Steen dominated and eventually won with the package pile driver. But Steen then punishes Tornado some more after the match puts him in a crippler crossface, which leads to Colt Cabana coming down to make the save and try to talk some sense into Steen, but Steen just walks away from him. Again, more just filler, which is pretty sad. So now we have one of the advertised semi-main events. We have Jushin Thunder Liger versus the greatest man who ever lived, Austin Aries. Liger is a legend, of course, and Austin Aries, he's one of the best light heavyweight wrestlers of this generation. And I'm very glad to see he's finally getting his due in TNA and actually showing up on TV again. And it's matches like this that show why he does deserve it. It's a very good match. And it's fun when it starts out. Aries gets on the mic and starts running down Liger for not knowing English. Then Liger takes the mic from him and then just tells him he's an asshole. I just laughed. So this is a very good match as Austin Aries is on top of his game at this point. And Liger, he can still go strong as well. Both guys, they bust out their best moves and have trouble putting the other way, but it's not until we get a ref bump followed by a low blow, then a brainbuster, that Austin Aries gets the win over the legend. Now, I know this was controversial by some, but I have to disagree with that. I think it made sense for the match to end this way. Austin Aries, for one, he's the Ring of Honor champion at the time, and with less than a month, he's going into their 8th anniversary show where he's defending the title against longtime rival Tyler Black. So, of course, I think with the build-up to that, he should win. And also, as a heel, it makes sense for him to cheat and get the win over Liger this way. It doesn't make Liger look weak, and it actually gives Austin Aries and Ring of Honor a boost by having him pick up the win over a legend like Jushin Liger, who's not going to stick around. So, of course, I think Austin Aries needs to win. So, I mean, it can't be the worst thing you ever seen Jushin Liger involved in. It's not worse than him jobbing to a tequila bottle from Juventud Guerrera in WCW. So now there's the main event, or at least the last match on the card. We have the American Wolves, Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards, teaming up with the Kings of Wrestling, Claudio Castagnoli and Chris Hero, versus the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, who I've talked about many times before, and the Briscoes, Jay and Mark. I think it was a really big mistake to have this match follow Austin Aries versus Jushin Liger, because that match felt more like a main event than this one did. I'm not trying to give a disservice to these great teams. It is a good 8-man tag match, but after the previous match, it just feels like the show should be over now, and it actually kind of feels like a bit of a drag afterwards. This is one of ROH's faults, in my opinion. A lot of times they put the world title matches in the middle of the show and then put something else in the main event. I guess it's a case of wanting to send the fans home happy after Austin Aries won his match, but that's not even the case. The Wolves end up double teaming Nick Jackson while everyone else is brawling outside, and eventually he taps out to a half crab from Eddie Edwards. The match is good, but I wish I had more to talk about with it. It's like everything on this DVD, just feels like filler. It doesn't advance anything, it doesn't add anything. It's pretty too bad about that. So that's Ring of Honor's SoCal Showdown. Not a bad DVD by any means, but very skippable to be honest. It was obvious that Ring of Honor was just putting all their effort into their upcoming 8th anniversary show, which was less than a month away from this show, so it was obviously just filler with nothing memorable really happening. Other than to complete the set to get both weekend shows from Wrestle Reunion of that year, there's really no reason to buy this, and any money would be better spent buying PWG's Kurt WrestleMania instead. But before I end this DVD review, I'm going to talk about something a little different this time. Usually when I'm reviewing a DVD, I just stick with the main features, and I don't really... I might mention the bonus matches, but I don't really talk about them. But this one was filmed as part of the same event on the same night, so I'm going to consider it part of the event, even though it's not in the chapter listing. It's actually just on there as a bonus. As I mentioned before, this was taped the same weekend as Pro Wrestling Guerrilla's Kurt WrestleMania and as part of Wrestle Reunion. So while Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, they brought in Super Crazy, they brought in the Great Muta, they brought in Rob Van Dam. So who does Ring of Honor bring in to match that? We have Scotty 2 Hottie versus Larry Sabisco with special guest referee Johnny Fairplay. And it's reasons like this is why many fans, myself included sometimes, feel that Pro Wrestling Guerrilla has been blowing ROH away for a long time now. So the match itself, it's very bad. I mean, you can tell that Ring of Honor just wiped their hands of it. It's not even mentioned in the chapter listing. You just got to go into the bonus features to find it. They pretty much wiped their hands of it just to get it out there. It was obviously, they even mentioned in commentary that it was booked by Wrestle Reunion. So I guess they were told that they had to have this match on there. So Scotty gets on the mic. He tries to suck up to the crowd and talk about how Ring of Honor has passion and disses WWE and TNA. But the crowd don't buy it. They still boo the crap out of him. Even, it doesn't work anyway. After a bit of stalling, we get very minimal action, and Scotty quickly gets the bulldog onto Larry and goes for the worm, but Johnny Fairplay stops him, which allows Larry to do a quick roll-up, and then Fairplay does a fast count to give Larry Sabisco the win. I don't know what that was about. Are they planning to do some angle advancement with these guys, or are they planning on sticking them around? Why would you do this? So then Larry, he bails and leaves Fairplay in the ring, who hits him with a running power slam and goes for the worm once again. But even before he finishes it, Colt Cabana hits the ring and bulldogs Scotty and does a sluggish version of the worm himself. Well, this was pretty pointless. So to make things even worse, Cabana pulls his singlet up his butt crack and gives Johnny Fairplay the stink face in the corner to end the DVD. Obviously not the spectacle that Ring of Honor shows are known for, obviously. So once again, this is Ring of Honor's SoCal Showdown. Like I said, the action itself was good, but it was obviously just filler and very skippable with very minimal storyline advancement. Austin Aries versus Jushin Liger, I do recommend. The worst match I obviously just talked about. But again, like I said, the DVD can be skipped and nothing of note will be missed. So this is Brave Sir Robin signing off. Now back to Power Pack.